Good afternoon, everybody. It's May 6, 2025. And I just want to give you a quick update on the kittens that were assaulted by the Luciferian Satanists here in Jackson County, Kentucky on their Beltane Mayday, 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 May 1st. You know, like what they did to me last year. They used some kind of a weapon to cut a perfect triangle in my right forearm. Well, this year they illegally entered the nonprofit cat building. And I've got a bunch of kittens in there, 2 mommies and a bunch of kittens. One bunch of kittens is a couple of months old, and the other bunch of kittens are half their size. And they harmed the eyes of all 3 of the older kittens. The nursing mama, her eye of the youngest kittens. They're causing her to sneeze. Likely either they infected her, experimented on her, harassed her while she's nursing her kittens. One of her kittens is sneezing, is losing weight, and that male kitten's eyes are bad. And this is after 6 days. So they have infected the cats, harmed the cats. They were perfectly healthy, beautiful, perfect little angels. And these criminals entered the building and harmed their eyes. And yes, I have photos. I've got updated photos, and I will attempt to post them in the community section later today. But anyway, I thought you'd like to hear this story. Now, I saw the video by Delete Laws, Lawz. I'm subscribed to his channel. He's, one of those police auditor channels. And it was deeply disturbing. He doesn't usually post these kinds of videos, but he posted an interview, a partial interview, with a woman, a daughter, not just a woman, and that's what all these news reports, the ones that you're going to see, because the mainstream news is not going to report on this, the daughter, the young woman, has come forward claiming she suffered ritual SA at the hands of a satanic cult whose members included her neighbor and her father, a chief of police in New Jersey, Leonia, New Jersey. Appearing on the We're All Insane podcast last month, Courtney Tamagny described childhood trauma she went through after being born into a dark ritualistic network that she says would sacrifice children. Tamagny accused her father, chief of police in Leonia, New Jersey, of constantly drugging and SAing her and her siblings starting at a young age, recalling she would be taken to rituals where she would watch sacrifices or be SA'd and have to go to school the next day. So it's based off of seasons, Tamagny explained. It's a seasonal cult. It happens in the fall and the spring, not in the winter, not in the summer. That's when it happens. They go by seasons. They have their own special calendar about what they do. They wear masks. That's the really important thing. Is they always would wear these masks with bones or whatever they wanted to scare you. And it was also a power thing. Quote unquote, I have this mask on. I look so more powerful. I unalive this animal. And that's what they do. That's what they do to animals. So what they would do essentially is we would go into the woods and we would play games. They really were not games. And we would have to watch, as there were a lot of fire. It was a fire cult. A lot of fire would go on. A lot of burnings of animals, animal skins, humans as well. Like real people. What scared us the most is, okay, we're doing this to these people that we have traffic lighted. Get my drift? Why wouldn't we do this to you? You need to be scared for your life because we just did that to this young girl or this young boy, so why wouldn't we do it to you if you're not acting well, she said. She discussed a hunting game. Targeted people She discussed a hunting, quote-unquote, game called Hunters and Gatherers, where the cult would release 7 to 10 young people into the woods, and the med would find the children and SA them. Now, there is a full story here. It's reported by Robert Lee. This is Freedom's Phoenix. Let me show you this article. And this was taken from Infowars.com, May 5th, 2025. And in her interview that I listened to, she said that bits and pieces started resurfacing in her memory, and she was not feeling well down there. So she went to the doctor. She actually had to have a couple of surgical procedures down there to repair what her disgusting father did to her. Meanwhile, he's a chief of police in New Jersey. Just like that chief of police that we reported on about a month ago. You know, that one in North Jersey who made his police department into a living, breathing animal house, where he was shaving hair off of his body and dumping them in the food of the other police officers. He did some nasty other things, including drugging their water and their coffee and stuff like that. These are sick, sick people. But let's talk about other things that are equally ill, like Zersetzung. Zersetzung. A sinister Cold War weapon of silent destruction. I'm reading an article here, May 6, 2024. Conversation recorder used by the Stasi CCBYSA 3.0. Now, I'm going to remind you guys, this is a long time ago, and this is how they surveilled people back in Germany. During the Cold War, East Germany's Ministry for State Security, commonly known as the Stasi, perfected a clandestine and insidious tactic known as Zersetzung. This psychological warfare technique aimed at undermining perceived threats to the state left a lasting imprint on individuals and society as a whole. So it doesn't just touch the individuals that they're stalking and harassing. It permeates all of society. This is an objective extended with a tilted mirror. This way, the Stasi agents could take photographs of objects or people that are located out of direct line of sight. I'll show you. I mean, I know all the targeted people are kind of smiling right now because of the way that we're surveilled, right? We've come a long way, baby, right? Oranges of Zersetzung can be traced back to the authoritarian regime of East Germany, where the ruling Socialist Unity Party sought to maintain control over its citizens through any means necessary. In the 1950s, as dissent began to emerge, particularly among intellectuals and activists, the Stasi recognized the need for a more subtle approach to repression. And they did it by applying Zersetzung, the quiet, very destructive weapon used during the Cold War. Now, the toolbox for Zersetzung. They relied on a toolbox of tactics carefully selected to exploit the psychological vulnerabilities of its targets. One of the primary methods was extensive surveillance, so much present during the Cold War era, with the Stasi employing a vast network of informants, like rat snitches, and electronic monitoring to gather information on individuals' activities and associations. But Zersetzung went beyond mere surveillance. It encompassed a range of psychological warfare tactics designed to destabilize and demoralize its targets. Gaslighting, spreading rumors, and orchestrating seemingly random events to induce paranoia were all common strategies employed by the Stasi. Surveillance. Targets were subjected to constant surveillance, both physical and electronic, to gather information about their activities, relationships, and vulnerabilities. Through psychological warfare, the Stasi sought to induce paranoia, anxiety, and isolation in their targets by employing tactics such as spreading rumors, gaslighting, and creating a sense of omnipresence, interference with personal affairs. The Stasi would interfere with various aspects of the target's personal life, such as tampering with mail, damaging property, or disrupting relationships to sow chaos and undermine their stability. Doesn't this sound like exactly what you and I are going through? Your community watch groups, your neighborhood watch, are Stasi soldiers. That's all they are. They can say, we're informants, we're human source, whatever they call them, human resources or whatever. You're rat snitch informants. You're responsible for the downfall of society. You're little Stasi snitches. Isolation and alienation. Targets would often find themselves isolated from their support networks as the Stasi worked to undermine their relationships with friends, family, colleagues, leaving them feeling alienated and vulnerable. You know, like going behind my back to the only local veterinarian and not being able to give me an appointment, hanging up on me, telling me, oh, this is Dr. Wilson in Anvil, by the way, and no, I'm not going to shut up about it. Dr. Rebecca Caleb Wilson, whatever her name is, in Anvil Veterinary Clinic, refused to give me an appointment. Said I'm not friends with her friends. She doesn't get me, and she doesn't like my social media. Meanwhile, I'm living here 6 years. I never spoke to her, never met her. So how would she know anything about me? How would she even know me? She's not even in this town. Slander, defamation. Let's see what it will be like to get her sorry ass on a witness stand and then have her rat snitch on the people, her friends of friends of friends, who told her to not give me a veterinarian appointment. You think they'd all cry, wah, 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 once they're on a witness stand? They'd rat all their friends out in a heartbeat. Isolation and alienation. Targets would often find themselves isolated from their support networks as the Stasi worked to undermine their relationships with friends, family, and colleagues, leaving them feeling alienated and vulnerable. Zersetzung was a highly effective tool for the Stasi as it allowed them to neutralize, and here's the word, this is the key word, perceived threats, without attracting widespread attention or condemnation. Sometimes it was easier to apply this quote-unquote quiet approach and destabilize the victim than using something that will intentionally, internationally, that's weird, that will internationally harm the state's reputation. Oh, well, don't worry about that. I'm going to tell everybody about Jackson County, Kentucky. I'm going to tell everybody about all the local criminals here and all the things that they do. Yeah. That's okay. I'm still going to get somebody to buy my house because it's such gorgeous land. It's an insidious nature made it difficult for targets to identify and counteract, leading to widespread fear and mistrust within East German society. However, despite the Stasi's efforts, many individuals and groups still persisted in their opposition to the regime. And following the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, the extent of the Stasi's activities were exposed, leading to widespread condemnation of their tactics and the eventual dissolution of the organization. And we all know that that's going to happen to all the fusion centers, all these little neighborhood watch groups. Fusion centers are going down, down, down because they're not generating income. They just steal money. So what was the cost of Zersetzung then? The toll of Zersetzung on its victims was profound and enduring. Many found themselves living in a constant state of fear and anxiety, never knowing who they could trust or when the next blow would fall. Relationships were strained or severed as the Stasi sought to isolate their targets from their support networks. Like a 501c3 nonprofit not being able to get a veterinarian appointment, then breaking into the Cats building on May Day, their high Luciferian Satanist holiday, and damaging, sabotaging all of their eyes. That's right, and I will be posting photos later so you could see 6 days later what these poor little healthy kittens now look like. Because of these Luciferian Satanist animal abuser cult in Jackson County, Kentucky, with the 3 Mason loser clubs, 3 of them right here. Had to perform their little bituals, right? You had to perform your little bituals on my healthy little kittens, you losers. You sick, pathetic losers. The psychological impact of Zersetzung often extended beyond its immediate victims, permeating through families, communities, and even entire sectors of society. The pervasive atmosphere of suspicion and mistrust marked the Cold War era. Resistance and resilience. Despite the Stasi's best efforts, not all succumbed to Zersetzung without a fight, like you and I. Many individuals and groups continue to resist, finding strength in solidarity and defiance. That's right. We all join together, we expose them, and they will fall. They will be exposed, and all the people that didn't know what they were doing will now know what they were doing and how evil they are. Evil they are. And I will be posting photos of what they did to my kitten's eyes later today. 6 days later. Grassroots movements, underground publications, and acts of civil disobedience were all expressions of resistance against the oppressive regime. While the Stasi's techniques were effective at times, they were not invincible. The courage and resilience of those who dared to challenge the status quo played a crucial role in exposing the brutality and injustice of the East German regime. And I'm going to reword that now, okay? While my favorite Bureau of Instigation, the fusion centers and Homeland Security, InfraGard, your community watch groups, your vigilante groups, your Freemason loser lodges, while they may be effective at times, they were not invincible. Because the courage and resilience of those who dared to challenge the status quo played a crucial role. Targeted individuals, people placed on a watch list, people harassed and tormented, are exposing the brutality and injustice of this organized crime octopus network that uses children and animals in your rituals. You sick, pathetic losers. You are all going to hell. You're not getting pay increases. You're not getting pay raises. In fact, your money's going to be cut off. 0. No more gift cards. No more forgiveness. 0. So what was the legacy of Zersetzung? The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 marked the beginning of the end for the Stasi and its reign of terror. As East Germany underwent a process of reunification with the West, the extent of the Stasi's activities was laid bare for the world to see. The archives were opened, revealing the full scope of Zersetzung and its devastating impact on individuals and society. The legacy of Zersetzung continues to reverberate to this day. It's the lesson from history of what happens to civil liberties and human rights under a regime that has a dangerous power. This article was written by Ivana Tucak, Tucak, editor-in-chief. She's an experienced historian who seamlessly blends traditional expertise with a cutting-edge approach to digital media. She holds a master's in history and Italian language and literature from the University of Split, with a distinguished career spanning various online publications. Ivana has extensively covered a wide range of topics, notably focusing on history and international politics. And thank you for writing that article. I so appreciate it. Because we can change the word Stasi easily. Interchangeable with community watch groups, Infraguard, the Freemasons, the witches, the Luciferian Satanists, my favorite Bureau of Instigation, the Department of Homeland Security, under the auspices of fusion centers. Yes, oh, and oh, wait till you see. Now, if I can find it, I don't know if I exited out of it. Let me see here. Oh my goodness, it was just amazing what I found here in Kentucky. Oh yes, the Homeland Security. I have to read this to you, okay? So now it's called Kentucky Intelligence Fusion Center. The Kentucky Intelligence Fusion Center is created within the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security, who, by the way, can be FOIA requested, and codified into state law to improve intelligence sharing among public safety and public service agencies at the federal, state, and local levels. You're doing a great job. The role of the Kentucky Intelligence Fusion Center is to compile, blend, analyze, and disseminate criminal intelligence and other information, and to anticipate, identify, prevent, good job, yeah, doing a great job preventing, and monitoring criminal activity that may pose a threat to the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the nation. Well, you will be receiving my letters really soon, because I have neighbors detonating IEDs on my driveway and stuffing skinned animals in my mailbox, which is a federal crime. You will be receiving a communication, and you can monitor the criminal activity going on my block in Jackson County, Kentucky. Okay? So about the Fusion Center. Please, guys, bear with me here, okay? I want you to do a little homework. I'm going to give you some homework. Go to your state, go to your search engine and type in your state's name, Fusion Center. And I want you to read what that Fusion Center is doing in your state. So this one was formed in 2005, codified statute 2013, serves as a Commonwealth hub. It's a hub for sharing threat information and fostering collaboration. There's that word. I hate this word. Collaboration to address threats. Their core is its team of criminal intelligence analysts from the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security. Their mission, and this is where it gets important. You always check out the mission statement, because this is where you snag them in court. Okay? The mission is to retrieve, analyze, gather, and appropriately disseminate all source. This is all word salad. Source information and intelligence regarding terrorists and criminal activities and other threats to the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the nation by serving as the state's single fusion center, providing analytical support to address all hazards and all crimes none of which are being reported, right? That's okay. You will be getting a list of all the things that happened to me over the last 6 years. And then you can do with it what you wish. You can ignore it. You can disseminate it. You can analyze it. You can gather it. You can squash it together and see what kind of word salad you can make of all the crimes that were done against me and nothing was done. So they analyze specific events and incidents. Really, specific events and incidents, providing investigative and operational support. Okay, so this is all in writing, boys and girls, men and women. This is what they're telling the public they do. Okay? And following fair information practices to ensure the privacy and civil rights and liberties of citizens. So this fusion center is networked to all of the 80 fusion centers in the United States, thereby providing Kentucky law enforcement and first responders and the communities they serve relevant and timely information and intelligence based on incidents and or emergency events that take place regionally, nationally, and globally. This enables the Kentucky Intelligence Fusion Center the ability to inform key decision makers within hours and even minutes of events happening throughout Kentucky, the nation, and the world. In addition, they are the sole state government resource that can, quote unquote, connect the dots across all law enforcement and first responder disciplines to provide an accurate micro, macro level view of threats that affect the people and property of not only Kentucky, but the region and the nation. Should I play the American anthem right now? Oh, say, can you see? In addition, the Kentucky Intelligence Fusion Center is the only entity in Kentucky state government with the placement, access, and valid need to know. The valid need to know federal classified information. Within its secured facility, classified information, sorry about that, classified information and intelligence reporting from national and global sources can be accessed. The Kentucky Intelligence Fusion Center consumes. It consumes. Isn't that an interesting word? They consume and analyze this data effectively and as quickly as possible to determine if any threats like roosters or hazards exist, and to determine if any links and additional dangers to the Commonwealth exist. Their primary analytical priorities are this. My roosters are really acting up. They're crazy. Okay, look. This is what they get to look at all day long. So here, I guarantee, like, my property is here somewhere, right? This is what they do. This is what they do. They provide all crimes and terrorism intelligence analytical services, support the Joint Terrorism Task Force with counterterrorism analysis, assist all federal, state, and local law enforcement with their requests for information on suspects by utilizing available databases. They assist law enforcement in the location of subjects. They serve as the conduit for law enforcement requests of information from other state fusion centers. They receive statewide all-crime tips through the toll-free Eye on Kentucky hotline. Oh yeah, Eye on Kentucky. I need to start calling their hotline to tell them what's going on my property. or website submission. Oh, wow. They're connected to the FBI Law Enforcement Enterprise portal called LEAP, L-E-E-P, which is an intelligence and information sharing network connected to the Regional Organizational Crime Information Center, which is intelligence and information sharing network over 14 southeastern states, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Hold on, guys. Guys, get off the porch. I'm sorry about that, guys. I have 5 roosters on my porch. I have 5 roosters on my porch attacking one hen. Maybe I should report this to the fusion centers and they can fuse all the information together and get rid of the threats of my roosters against my hen. So anyway, I'm going to sign off for now because they're a little too loud. It's very distracting. Please leave a comment down below, and please do your homework and research your state fusion center.